One. Welcome back to the Angry Man Podcast with Jason and Greg. I got my boy T in the building from the Mic Check Podcast. T, bro, what's going on, man?
Hey, what's good with you, Greg? Happy to be back. Thank you for having me. Of course. Love doing the show with y'all.
No, same here, man. We enjoy having you on the show. And, Jason is out of pocket right now. He's doing a little bit of traveling. So T and I are going to hold it down. So we got a lot going on, man. Over the last couple of weeks, we've dropped several videos, and I want to cover some of the things that we talked about in some of those videos. And T, if there's any topic specific that you want to speak to, by all means, bring them up and we'll dive into them. But I want to jump into some of the stuff that I've seen so far over the last couple of weeks that we've had the opportunity.
For sure, let's run it.
The first one, let's start off with Tyson Fury's fight with Derek Chisora. So I hadn't had the opportunity to see the fight, honestly. I wasn't really wasn't very concerned about the fight because, I mean, at the end of the day, man, we knew what was going to end up happening in this fight. We knew that Tyson Fury was going to come out of this fight victorious. And in reality, Derek Chisora, he's been a punching bag. We've gone through our video. He's been on the who's who list of fights where he's come in to take the L. So I already knew he wasn't going to win. So I didn't even really get a chance to watch the fight. All I know is that it ended by knockout. But I know you probably had the opportunity to watch the fight. So I'm going to give you an opportunity to just cover that very quickly. What were your thoughts on the fight last night between Tyson Fury and Derek Chisora?
Okay, great. So I've got two parts to that. The first part is going to be the fight itself. It did end not so much of a knockout as much of a stoppage. The referee did step in. Chisora was taking some damage. He looked pretty beat up at the end of the fight, but in flow, it looked like he was still kind of aware of what he was doing, and he still had some fight in him. But it's just such a bad physical matchup for him. That is easy for somebody on the outside looking in. And this is somebody on the outside looking in. And this is the third time around. So from a referee standpoint, I've seen enough. You haven't been able to do it before. It's not going to happen for you. Let's just go ahead and call it a day. So from the Tyson Fury side of the fight, he seemed very disinterested. You've probably seen on social media and whatnot about him just laying on Derek Chisora and not really wanting to fight. He looked very disinterested in this fight in terms of offensive output early on. He didn't really. He just used his physicality. I mean, where can you find a combination of 260 plus pounds and 6'9" elsewhere in the heavyweight division with the skills that he has? And he tapped into maybe 50% of his gifts to win this fight. I mean, he knew from the beginning. He had a psychological win from the beginning, and it showed early in the fight. Later on, he used his footwork. He showed his elite boxing skill. It's just Tyson Fury didn't seem to want to be there, and Derek Chisora just didn't have an answer. I don't even know why he took the fight because it didn't look like he didn't have an answer. I don't even know why he took the fight because it didn't look like he had a very good offensive strategy. And if you can't get some type of offensive against Tyson Fury, game plan going against Tyson Fury, you're going to have a very long offense. And he had a very long 10 or so rounds. He took some damage, and the rest just called it a day. So I would say that it was just an unnecessary fight, and it just wasn't entertaining for me. So I'm going to give it like on the scale of 10. I'm going to give it like on the scale of 10. I think it's like a 3 in terms of entertainment value.
Yeah, T, I don't know what's going on, but they're saying that they're hearing some mic issues with your mic. Not sure what is the issue there. Can you guys hear me? Deuce Daly.
Hey, if you want to cook, I could go ahead and grab a different headset, and then we could get right back into it. I've got one right next to me.
Yeah, look.
I've got one right next to me.
That's fine. Yeah.
Awesome.
So from my perspective on that fight, again, I did not get the opportunity to see the fight. So because at the end of the day, I knew the fight wasn't going to necessarily be something that, had any opportunity to be anything other than what it was, right? So from that perspective, I didn't get the opportunity to see the fight, or not necessarily didn't get the opportunity to see the fight, but I was more so interested in college football last night and understanding what was going to happen in that regard. I thought what was more interesting was what he had to say after the fight. So, talking about some of the fights that could possibly happen in his next fight, specifically Usyk being an opportunity for him in his next fight. I'm interested in seeing that fight, definitely. But not only that, I like the comment that he made about Deontay Wilder. Understanding that Deontay Wilder is the hardest puncher in the heavyweight division, and he's going to be a hard night out for anybody, including himself. I don't think Tyson Fury necessarily want to get in the ring with him again. Not because he fears him or anything like that, but more so, I don't want to have to deal with that level of power anymore. I think anybody else in the division is going to have some challenges with that level of power, including Andy, AJ, if they ever get into the ring, or whomever. And based off what he's saying, it sounds like he's going to go after Usyk. So I think that may open up an opportunity for Deontay Wilder after he fights Andy Ruiz, and I fully expect him to beat Andy Ruiz. I feel like that's going to open up an opportunity for Deontay Wilder to fight AJ. So that's a great opportunity. I like what's going on in the heavyweight division. I think there's a lot of fights and a lot of opportunity there for us to see some really great action in the heavyweight division. So that's kind of how I see that fight last night. To me, that's what I drew from that particular fight. You good?
From the heavyweight side. Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Chat, how do I sound? How am I doing, guys? I do agree that there's a lot of action in the heavyweight division that can just be some really good fights to put on, not including Wilder versus Fury 4. There's a lot of mixing and matching that can go on between the contenders, the title holders, and the high-level prospects over the next 2 to 3 years before most of these guys completely graduate out of boxing. So looking forward to how that's going to look, in live and living color in the ring in a couple of years.
Awesome, man. Awesome. So let's change the topic here. So there's a couple of things that I want to jump into. Both of these topics have to do with Tank Davis. And it mostly has to do with the fact that, and the reason why I want to bring these topics up is specific to the fact that, on this channel, Tank Davis, we're actually fans of Tank Davis. I would say Jason is by far more of a fan of Tank Davis than myself. T, you've seen this in the past, right? You've seen us arguing about Tank. I think Jason personally is a fan to a fault, right? But one of the things Jason will do, and one of the things I would do, is I'm going to call any fighter out on things that I feel is bullshit, or if I see it a specific way, regardless on how I feel about the fight, I'm going to call it out. Now, we talked about the fact that Adrian Broner went on what was it, Blue Blood Sports, and he was talking about the fact that Tank and Devin Haney had the opportunity to spar, and we've heard two different stories. One of the stories was that Devin Haney made Tank Davis quit. The other story that we heard was that Tank Davis got in the ring and basically rocked Devin. Okay, so when Adrian Broner came on Blue Blood Sports TV, the way that he described it, he basically described it as though both things occurred, right? So basically, Tank hurt him, but then at the same time, Devin got off after that. Now, my understanding was that they had a bet, and that Bill Haney was able to collect on that bet. And it was mostly because of the fact that Tank Davis had gotten off a plane, wasn't in shape, and Devin was able to get the best of him. My belief is sparring really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things when you're talking about win versus loss. Because as you know, T, and I know you've been in the ring before, I've been in the ring before, when you're sparring, you're trying to work on something specific, whether that's how you defend against a southpaw or lateral movement or defense or slipping punches, whatever. Right. You're trying to work on something specific. So I don't put a lot of value in someone winning a sparring match. But for whatever reason, a lot of people that came into the comments section, they do. And they came at Jason and I as though we were like on Devin Haney's side or something like that. And it's like, no, we're not on anybody's side. We just don't really give a shit about sparring to begin with. We just kind of spoke on it because it was a topic that was in it was a topic of debate amongst boxing fans. And it was like AB kind of gave some clarity to it. So I want to transition and get your thoughts on just sparring in general. What was said from AB, the comments that have been made by Bill Haney and Devin Haney, the comments that have been made by Tank Davis. What are your thoughts overall on that specific topic?
So overall, for me, sparring, there's two kinds of sparring, right? There's the sparring where we're working to get better. Collectively as a gym, we're all working to improve each other. Iron sharpening iron. When you have these little random impromptu sparring matches, sometimes it's more like a fight without fans. So I think that there's a little bit of credence to be put into somebody got the best of somebody at some point during that session. However, as AB clarified, Tank started off good, and when he ran out of gas because he was fat and out of shape, keep in mind, this is missing weight Tank, not current focus Tank. So it's reasonable to believe that he came off a plane, he expected to kick it with AB. They pulled out the gear, and he got into it with Devin. They put some money on the line, a little bit of pride, tempers flared, and he got the best of Devin early on. And then later, Devin's gas tank hit in those young fresh legs, and he's a really good boxer. And he did his thing against Tank. He's a really good boxer. All of that, and he did his thing against Tank. In the moment, there might have been some in the moment, there might have been some grand scheme of things, but in the grand scheme of things, it means nothing when it's time to actually fight. When both men have had 8 to 12 week camps, they've done film study, they've worked with their coaches on the strategy, and they get into the ring and make it happen. That's going to be a totally different ball game. So I think that you can only take this one with a grain of salt. Beyond in that moment, they went at each other for some money for the people that were betting on them. But other than that, I don't see it. Now, as far as Bill Haney, I saw this comment earlier, and I couldn't agree with it. I think that he needs to let those young pups handle that, like him, like Shakur and Devin and Tank and Devin and all of them. Let the OGs just sit back and do what OGs do. Just sit back and intervene when necessary, but let them dudes talk themselves out because eventually they gotta knuckle up. And I just think that right now we're looking at a situation where these are guys raised in social media age era. So this is their way of building up to where eventually gonna fight. You know, this used to be the telephone game where I tell my homeboy I don't like that dude, and he does the same, and our homeboys tell each other, and they build up a fight. This is kind of their version of that, and I think that's what's going on with kids.
Yeah, no, I plan to transition to the Tank, the Ryan. Boy, I'm off today. I plan to transition to the Shakur Stevenson and the Devin Haney conversation, but I want to go back to Tank for a little bit here. I think you made a very good point, and that's the first thing that came to my mind when you started talking about sparring, right? It's because, when you get under the lights, we've heard about fighters that have had success in sparring, right? We heard about Lamont Peterson giving Mayweather that work in sparring, right? I thought, oh man, this guy might be the next real deal here because he gave Mayweather that work. But we understand that there's a difference between sparring and being under the lights. Man, when you have to go through that entire training camp, when you have to go through the pressure of, going through the city to city tour, when everybody's looking at you, when everybody's asking you questions, when everybody is in your face, that brings a different level of pressure. But then when you add on to that, the fact that now this individual that you're facing over in the opposite corner of the ring, that individual has had time to prep for you. He has had time to do film study. His coach, if it's not Buddy McGirt, has had the opportunity to do film study on you, to look at your skills, right? So that's a completely different ball game when somebody is prepped and prepared to face you versus just sitting in the ring, working on their skills, working on different aspects of what they're trying to improve in boxing versus I'm going out here, I'm looking at your strengths, I'm looking at your weaknesses, and now I'm game planning to take your strengths and your weaknesses from you. It's a completely different ball game. So the fact that, and I know a lot of people are saying that, Tank really didn't talk about it. And I feel like, when I think about it, I feel like more of the talking has come from Bill Haney and Devin Haney in regards to the sparring. And at the end of the day, the sparring doesn't mean shit. It doesn't mean shit. I think Devin was like 17 when they sparred. Devin's what, 24 now? So the shit was like 7 years ago. Like, and Tank has grown as a fighter. Devin has grown in a fight. It doesn't make any difference right now in terms of what's going to happen in a fight between Devin Haney and Tank Davis. But I would love, absolutely love to see that fight.
Oh, for sure. That would be a really good fight.
Absolutely.
High level, high speed chess.
Exactly. So I also want to talk about Bill Haney, and you just touched on that for a minute with the Bill Haney situation. I feel like Bill, to your point, I feel like he needs to your point, he needs to lay off of these young guns, right? I feel like Bill sometimes is a little bit too involved with what's going on with these young guys. And that's the reason why Shakur Stevenson was essentially stepping to him and saying, hey, man, you're saying that what I'm saying is a publicity stunt. And Shakur specifically said, well, Devin should say it. If Devin feel like this and so forth and so on, I mean, it's one thing if it's coming from Devin, but it's another thing if it's coming from you. I mean, I respect that. And I respect, Shakur Stevenson, the way that he came at Bill Haney, because he checked him. And I'm not saying that Shakur was right or Bill Haney was right, but he checked him, but he did it in a very specific way. So I want to first address that, T. How do you feel about the way that Devin Haney approached the way that Shakur Stevenson approached Bill Haney about that specific situation?
So it's one of those things where when you insert yourself, you can't tell somebody else how they need to respond. But by the same token, I can appreciate that Shakur respects the game of boxing, and he respects his peers that get in the ring. He respects the trainers. You can tell when he talks. He don't get crazy with people just to do it unless they get crazy with him. But even in that same vein, he's still like, I'm still going to handle it like a businessman. He understands his image is at stake, right? And I don't have an issue with him being very direct and just, like you said, checking Bill and like, look, this is what it is. And eventually, me and your son really got to get in the ring. You really don't even have to be in the arena for it to happen. So, like I said earlier, it should be left between them. So I don't have a problem when a younger person has to sometimes just, stand toe to toe with the older, with a senior, I guess you could say, and just let them know, like, yo, I got this. A senior, I guess you need to stay in your lane with it. Like, yo, I got this. You need to stay in your lane with it and let me and this other person handle the situation.
Totally agree. So they're saying that we're still having some mic problems. I'm going to try to make a quick adjustment, T. And
okay.
I'm going to make some settings adjustments, and I'm going to see if that actually helps. Okay. Do you guys hear him better now? T, why don't you say something quickly?
Mic check 1 2. Hey, while y'all at it, click on my icon. Go ahead and subscribe to the Mic Check podcast while we get these audios together.
Absolutely, man. Go subscribe.
How was it sounding?
So right now, you actually sound like you're doubling up to me, but I don't know how you sound to them. So he sounds better to you. Okay, so now he actually sounds like he's doubling in my headset. But if it sounds better to you guys, great. That's all that really matters. So let's keep it going, T. So we know there were a couple of things that were said as a part of that conversation between Devin Haney and Shakur Stevenson that I thought was interesting. The first thing was Shakur Stevenson saying that Bill Haney told him that in the event that Shakur Stevenson moves up to 135 pounds, that was going to make the division too hot and they were going to move out of the division at that point. I find it extremely hard to believe that Bill Haney would make such a comment to Shakur Stevenson, because you're admitting that you have a fear of a fighter. No promoter, manager, fighter is going to say that, hey, hey, if you move up to this division, hey, we running up out of here, man, because you the type of guy that we don't know if we could actually beat. So we're going to move to a different division to avoid you. I struggle to believe that Bill Haney said that. It was first Bill Haney. It almost felt like he didn't really comprehend or process exactly what he said. And then later, of course, Shakur brought it up again. And then that's when he made the comment, Devin will beat the shit out of him. And we'll get there to a point. We'll get there at some point. But what are your thoughts on that comment from Shakur Stevenson? Does that feel like cap to you? Because certainly he feels like that's cap to me.
It definitely sounds a little
disingenuous. I can't believe that that would be said, knowing that at some point those young men are going to fight for belts, the most prestigious things in boxing. They're going to make a mega fight at some point in the future. So somebody's gonna tell you like, hey, if you move up, we getting up out of there and go do something else. But yet you're saying this person has that dog in him to fight the other guy, but you're also saying you're going to move him out of that guy's way. That just doesn't add up to me. It doesn't compute unless he understood that it's going to be a bit down the line before they really align physically to be in the same division. Which last time I saw Shakur, he looked like he can go to 140 right now, with a little bit of time in the gym. So it seems like Shakur's saying something to make it look like it will be like a duck move. I just don't believe that it went down like
So let me ask you this, man, because these guys are talking about fighting. Clearly, they have a relationship, right? Devin Haney has a relationship with Shakur Stevenson. Shakur Stevenson has a relationship with Bill Haney. Um, Clearly, these guys have had the opportunity to sit down and talk and come to the conclusion that they're going to meet in the ring at some point. This, I would say, and normally I would say this is great promotion, right? Because, if I thought that these guys were imminently going to fight, then I would say great promotion. I love it. But in my opinion, these guys are not going to fight in the near future. Bill Haney made a comment that was weird to me, saying something to the effect of, Shakur Stevenson is the best fighter, I guess, coming up in the division, or whatever the comment was, and that somehow he was going to be able to skip the line and get in front of Lomachenko to get the opportunity to face Devin Haney. And it was always my understanding that Devin Haney, the deal that he signed to move over to Top Rank as his promoter, was to face Camboso twice, and that would be if he beat Camboso the first time in Australia, he was going to get a rematch in Australia. If he beat him the second time, then he was going to move on to face Lomachenko. And if he didn't face Lomachenko, it was only because he was moving up in weight. That's what I understood. So I want to pass it to you very quickly. What are your thoughts on the comment from Bill Haney saying that somehow Shakur Stevenson can just jump to the front of the line and get that opportunity to face Devin Haney?
So the part about skipping the line, I'm not sure. I don't know that Lomachenko was the third fight. I believe it's just a three-fight deal.
Mhm.
Win first time against Cambosis, rematch, one-way rematch for Cambosis, and then a third fight with Top Rank. So I don't know that Loma was exactly it, but because Loma was back and seemingly available, I think that's why he naturally progressed into that spot. After they saw how he washed Cambosis the first time, I think Loma became a popular pick for that spot. And keep in mind, this was made when Shakur was still at 130 trying to unify. This deal was made then. So I don't know about the skip the line thing, unless a couple of the sanctioning bodies were to just throw Shakur in the ranking and pull like a Keith Thurman type situation. That's the only way I see that being plausible.
Yeah, I my thing is this. Regardless of what the three fight deal was, whether or not the third fight was going to be with Lomachenko, I know for a fact that Bob Arm, regardless if it was in the contract or not, he wants to match Devin Haney against Lomachenko. That's number one. Number two, if you think about Devin Haney versus Shakur Stevenson, there's no way in hell Bob Arm is going to make that fight right now, because I don't believe that fight is matured to the point where it's going to be financially feasible for Bob Arm to do it right now. So whether he goes to Jay Prince, Lil J, whatever you want to call him, Lil J goes to Top Rank and says, "Hey, we want to move to the top of the or the front of the line and get the opportunity to face Devin Haney." I don't think it matters at all, because Bob Arm is going to say this fight is not ready to be made right now. So in my mind, this is a whole lot of talking for absolutely no reason. These guys will not fight each other in the very near future.
Agreed.
Absolutely. So let's switch topics, man. Let's switch topics. I wanna jump to let's see here. I want to jump to Tank talking about VADA testing. Tank is around here talking about VADA testing. So So, and thanks to the our subscribers and the people that are in the comment section, because they have corrected me. It was my understanding that this fight was already completely negotiated and done with, you know. But apparently it's just a verbal agreement at this point. So if that is the case, I still have a question because it doesn't make sense to me, right? If you guys have not put pen to paper and currently your agreement does not include VADA testing, why are you going on Twitter to talk about VADA testing? Why are you not going to your manager, Al Heyman, and saying, Al, the current structure of this deal does not include VADA testing. I am not comfortable with going into the ring with Ryan Garcia, considering that he looked massive against Fortuna. And so we need to get VADA testing in this particular fight to make sure that everybody's on an even playing field versus going to Twitter and saying, well, there's no VADA testing currently, and you better not be on no funny shit because we're going to have an issue if you are. I'm not understanding the rationale behind that. It makes it appear that Tank Davis is creating doubt in the minds of the fans such that if he loses, he has a reason already in place. So that's what I don't like about it. Maybe that's not his intent, but it certainly can come off that way. So I want to get your opinion on that. What are your thoughts on the fact that he's now tweeting about VADA testing when he has the opportunity currently, since the contract is not finalized, to get VADA tested included? Thoughts?
So I'm checking out the comments, and Deuce took the words out of my mouth. It's part of the negotiations. Basically, he's trying to negotiate that term into whatever deal they finalize through the public. If enough people say, man, Ryan does look massive, he packed on a lot of weight, and he's not gassing out in his fights, this and that, yeah, we need to get him tested. We need to make sure we got to protect Tank and make sure that he's tested and keep it a clean sport. So I don't know that it's I don't know if it's like building an excuse. I don't take Tank as somebody who's gonna make excuses, and I am a Tank Davis fan as well. But I don't think he'll make excuses. I think he's trying to put that in the atmosphere to get that into the books when they do finalize and say, "Nah, bro, we gonna take these tests. We're gonna take these tests, and we're gonna be some clean boxers when we step in the ring." And if he can get it done fast enough, because we're projecting April, May for that fight, if he can get it fast enough, whatever effects, if there's a supplement that's being taken, if they're testing during this time, guess what? Your boy Ryan is going to physically change. It's going to be indicated through his appearance. So I think that he's just negotiating through the public to get that term added before he signs on the dotted line. I don't think it's a built-in excuse at this
Yeah,
point.
and Deuce, thanks for that, because again, we're not perfect on the Angry Man podcast, and we may look at it through one lens, and someone may look at it through a different lens. And I think that that's a legitimate lens, but at the same time, and it's just my personality. I'm going to go straight to the guys and say, we're not fucking fighting unless you get on VADA testing, period. I don't need to pressure you through the public eye to shame you to get on VADA testing. You're going to get on VADA testing, or we're not going to make a fucking fight. And then when people come and ask me why we're not fighting, I'll say then at that point, we're not fighting because the motherfucker didn't want to get on VADA testing. But once we've already agreed to a fight, I'm very conscious on how people are going to process things. It's probably my MBTI, my personality type. I'm an ISTJ. I consider what people are thinking. And so I'm always processing that, and I'm going to be sitting there thinking to myself, Cat's going to be thinking that this looks suspect for me. Now, Tank has a completely legitimate beef here and argument. And the reason why I say that to you is because we've never commented on this in any of our videos. When I saw Ryan Garcia versus Fortuna, I was like, shit, Ryan looks big as hell at 140. Like, noticeably bigger. And I've seen people in our comment section say, oh, he just moved up in weight. He's growing into his grown man body. I'm like, man, that motherfucker's transitioned into a grown man quick as hell. Because, I mean, I've seen people change weight classes before, the next weight class up. They look bigger for sure. I'm going to give you an example. Terrence Crawford. When Terrence Crawford went from 140 to 147 versus Jeff Horn, he looked a little bigger, but he didn't look massive. And Terrence Crawford has grown into the weight And when you look at Terrence Crawford versus Jeff Horn and Terrence Crawford versus Porter, you can see that he's grown into the weight, but it took some fights for him to get there. He looks natural. Ryan looked huge to me against Fortuna. So I'm curious, man, do you see it the same way? Does he look massive to you? And guys in the chat, does Ryan Garcia look massive to you? He does to me, and I'm curious to get you guys' thought on that.
So let me give the listeners out there a little bit of insight. So my day-to-day job, 80% of the time, I'm personal training. I'm actually a personal trainer and I also train for Boxing USA Boxing. So number one, I'm big on testing. We're tested. That's part of the program. You sign off saying you will be tested at any time that they choose. They just call you up. We need you to go to this facility, take a test. So I'm big on that. So I'm with Tank if he's politicking and petitioning for testing between him and Ryan to make sure everybody's clean. Secondly, I know how muscle mass works. And you could put on a lot of muscle really fast. But one thing that's going to come with it, let's think about Deontay Wilder against Fury in the third fight. He put on a lot of mass really fast, and it really killed his gas tank. He had no stamina. He already got bad cardio, but it really showed when he was 20 pounds heavier than he usually fights. So when you look at Ryan, he didn't seem to have that type of gassing out. So it makes me question a little bit like, what did you do to build a muscle, and what are you doing to help you maintain your stamina? Some people are naturally gifted. Others, it takes some time to build up the ability to maintain that heavier weight. And it looks like something to at least question from the outside looking in regards to Ryan Garcia. So, it's at least questionable.
Yep. Totally agree. That kid looks massive to me. He's a part of the Guadalajara Meat Club. I call them the Guadalajara Meat Club because they're eating some type of meat around there that's making them massive, or at least he was a part of that organization in that group. And so I think Tank's concerns, yeah, absolutely. Tank's concerns are completely valid. There should be Vada testing in that fight. I personally think Ryan's going to give Tank a pretty good fight, man. I really think he's going to give him a pretty good fight, regardless of, well, actually, maybe some of what I saw was because he's on the juice. I don't know. I don't know. Now I'm thinking about it, I'm like, shit, maybe some of what I'm seeing, if he's doing something he shouldn't be, maybe I got a false read on it. So we'll see, man. But first Tank got to get past his next fight, and we'll see how that ends up turning out.
Yeah.
So let's make another transition. I got two more topics that I specifically want to jump into. And then I want to give you the opportunity, because I know you guys talk about a number of different topics on your show, and there may be something that's buzzing amongst the fans right now that we should address. But Blue Blood Sports TV, before we started this channel, T, one of the reasons why we started this channel is because we've seen people that are out there that bring boxing content. And I'm going to throw out names, guys. And I don't care if you guys, you hate it or like it, but this is how we feel. We're going to always give you the real of how we see it and how we feel. Guys like Blue Blood Sports TV, Fannin, in particular, I feel like they do a lot of clickbait type stuff, stuff that feels fake. Definitely Fannin. And so we started the channel because we said, hey, man, we have an opinion on fighting. We don't mind people having their own opinion on fighting. And what we want to see is a community of people who enjoy the sport, that we can all come together, congregate, talk about the sport. And whether or not we have differences of opinion, it really doesn't matter. It's all about us coming together, right? Blue Blood Sports TV, over the last several weeks, I just feel like this guy has been doing a lot of stuff to make himself appear to be something that he's not. A lot of people went and blamed Blue Blood for the reason why the Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford fight didn't happen. I don't believe that to be the case. I think they're giving Blue Blood way too much credit. Blue Blood is in some type of affiliate program with BLK Prime. He's not a boss relative to BLK Prime. He's just a worker for them to help spread the word relative to BLK Prime. So I'm going to pause there to give you the opportunity to talk about that in general, because I know you have your own podcast. And then we're going to jump into some of the things that Blue Blood has said here over the last couple of days, or at least been on his channel via an interview with Adrian Broner. What are your thoughts on what I just said? Is it too many players in the game in terms of YouTube or YouTubers who are just painting false narratives and putting out a ton of videos just to make a buck? What are your thoughts?
So I do believe that there are a lot of players. Regarding too many, I'm going to leave it to the viewers and fans to be able to decipher what's fact and what's fiction. I encourage everybody. You see me in your comments on a regular basis. Use Google, verify the information before you put it out. Go and fact check before these comments come out, and we should expect the same from the YouTube content providers as well. You are always, when you're broadcasting, when you're doing your recorded videos, I can see that the computer's right there and you're fact checking things as far as you can get at that time. So there's some credibility that comes with what you're saying. That's not always the case when we see some of these videos from other content providers, and it is muddy in the waters. Now, the other side of that coin is they're bringing more visibility to the sport, that the the promoters and the networks. When the last time you saw an actual boxing commercial on ESPN during the football game or during whatever you're watching? When's the last time you saw it on Fox?
I haven't seen
Showtime
it in
doesn't
a
advertise
while.
boxing.
In a while.
Exactly. So YouTube is actually the only way people are getting boxing. YouTube and Twitter are the main promoters. So these content providers, whether they're giving factual information or not, are bringing visibility to the sport. Unfortunately, the people who aren't really adept at using the internet to search and fact check, they take a lot of what's being put out there for factual, and then they go and spread it to their friends, and then you've got the telephone game again, where this information is spreading around, and it goes from one untruth to some big massive completely different untruth, and the real facts, the real boxing fans are caught in the middle trying to figure out what's going on. So I think that, I don't know if it's too many. I just wish there was some type of oversight, and we just need more I guess checking in the community. Like one content creator has to check another, be like, bro, you can't put out that non-factual stuff, because these people out here believe you and they trust you. And sometimes it's the biggest platforms that are doing it. The guys with 40, 50, 100K subs, and then you've got the 2 and 3K sub channels actually sticking to the cold hard facts. So I just think we need to clean up the YouTube boxing community in general to get better information flow to the fans that just don't know that sometimes these people are just putting out clickbait.
Yeah, so I saw a comment from Brenda in the comment section. Shout out to Brenda. Brenda is my girl. She's always, we don't agree on shit relative to Terrence Crawford, but she is always sending me information. So I greatly appreciate her thought and the fact that she is a part of the channel. But I disagree with the comment that you're making about Fannin. I've seen on numerous occasions with Fannin on stuff that he does not have a question mark at the end of his video. It's presented in a way that seems like it's something that's being said, because we know a lot of people are simply just looking at your thumbnail. And we purposely, and Jason and I would say, we purposely do a lot to try to make sure that our stuff doesn't sound like clickbait, trying to make it seem like or trying to make it, make it clear that when we are putting up a video, that you understand that this is just for a conversational piece, and this isn't any information that we've gotten from somebody else. So I appreciate Blue Blood, Fannin, Boxing Ego, Dante, Boxing Nation, and everybody else that's bringing light to the sport, because light needs to be shined on the sport. We need to keep the sport going, but we also need to be very factual in what it is that we're doing to make sure that people are clear that whatever it is that we're posting are conversational pieces. So with that being said, I want to jump into the comment that Adrian Broner made on Blue Blood Sports TV, when he's basically saying that he believes that there's an opportunity for Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence to fight on BLK Prime. Okay. And when he made the comment, I took that comment, honestly, I took that comment as, this is AB, he's just talking. This is wishful thinking. This is wishful thinking, T, right? Not even cap, just wishful thinking. But when Blue Blood came behind him and said, AB, you're letting the cat out of the bag, that's bullshit, man. Because there's absolutely no reason why Errol Spence will fight on BLK Prime.
None.
Al Heyman is not going to allow that. He's already mentioned that, okay, number one, you need to fight for what you have on the back end. Kill what you eat. Why limit yourself? If you can promote this fight appropriately, you can make a ton of money. Also, we know that Terrence Crawford brought a hedge fund deal to Errol Spence. Supposedly, the hedge fund deal was worth $50 million guaranteed. They didn't bite on that. So why would Errol Spence go for this type of deal with BLK Prime? The third thing is this. Terrence Crawford, if he's getting $10 million, which I doubt it because it really doesn't make sense when you look at the financials, but let's say for the sake of argument, he is. Errol Spence got to be worth $30 million then. So you're telling me BLK Prime is going to come up with $40 million, considering the fact that if they're paying him $10 million now, they're absolutely going to take a loss. None of it makes any sense. I feel like Blue Blood was capping, putting out information that was not factual or real, that had absolutely no substance to it. And because of that, man, I just feel like we got to stop doing that, man, because it's turning off fans. So that's the way I see that. So what are your thoughts on the fact that he insinuated that there was even a remote possibility that Errol Spence could possibly fight on the PBC, or excuse me, on the BLK? What are your thoughts on that?
Man, I don't believe that in any way. And I'm all about the business. You know, a lot of fans don't like to talk about the business of boxing, but it's a real living thing in 2022 because of the access we have. That being said, the business of boxing ain't gonna allow that to happen because when you have business with somebody like a network deal, like Errol Spence has fought on Showtime and Fox. Okay, so that means that everything he does through PBC and Al Heyman is gonna go to one of those two networks. He is one of their high value assets on that platform, on that promotion platform. So he's not going to go to some third party who's going to outsource it anyway. This is the part that I want to share with other people, and I'm glad you let me on today so I can cook with this. BLK Prime is outsourcing the television or network aspect of the Terrence Crawford fight to Integrated Sports Media, who also just did Floyd Mayweather's last fight, where he was dancing in the ring and stuff. And then they're also going to let the regular cable and satellite people handle to buy it through your provider. What that means in black and white is Showtime already does that. Why would Errol Spence say, "Oh, I'm going to leave the people that do this for me anyway, with a history of doing it very well, and go to this company that's going to outsource it to somebody else"? That doesn't make sense. So Blue Blood implying something like that is to build hype around the organization that he's in partnership with. Of course, he's going to say things and just say it like, "Oh, whoa, 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 maybe we slipped up right there. We didn't mean to say that." But in reality, it's just games. It's mind games to get people to draw more eyes and talk about BLK Prime some more. But I just don't see the feasibility of a fight with Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford on BLK or whatever affiliate they choose to outsource the work to.
There's different ways to bring a light on BLK Prime other than trying to fool people into believing something that we know is not true, that logically doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Financially, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense in terms of organizations. Al Heyman already has his organizational structure in place to execute pay-per-views, and they have the ability to execute them well. Al Heyman and team have the ability to promote exceptionally well and build fighters. So there's no reason why he would ever go over to BLK Prime. And just to insinuate that, man, is disingenuous. And I just have a real issue with that. I have a real issue with Blue Blood in that regards. So I'm going to pause right there because I want to look at what people are saying in the chat in regards to that. Let's see.
Okay. And I got
I like
that while you kind of peek through.
Sure.
Go ahead. That's Brenda, right?
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
I was thinking that Brenda was saying she's not taking up for no. I actually echo her earlier sentiment that his titles, he puts a question mark in, and sometimes he'll say in a follow-up video, oh, I forgot to put a question mark in. I was trying to hurry up and get the content out when we know, no, it's clickbait. You put out a phrase and look like a direct quote from a fighter or a promoter, and then you just let it run because you knew people would see that and run with it. But there is some gamesmanship there from Fanon, and I watch him. I like his live stream because he get on there and he cook all day. I like that, but at the same time, I separate what he presents from actual boxing talk and analysis. Like you and Jason bring, you sit down and you'll get into what the fight's supposed to look like, and I kind of stick more to those channels. But for now, he'll venture off and just get a lot of opinion mixed in versus fact based content. So and Blue Blood has really fallen into that over like the last 6 or 7 months. He's figured out a way to just keep getting views and just say whatever. So
let me say this very quickly. And this is why, guys, you guys, maybe this is self-promotion. Maybe I'm about to bloviate to some degree here. Jason and I, our YouTube channel, we have made a little bit of money on it because of the great people who come on here and see our lives and give us donations. We've made some money on it. I can tell you for a fact we lose more money on YouTube than we make, for sure. But Jason and I are actually professionals that work out in corporate America. Our income is not tied to any entity within boxing. It's not tied to making money on YouTube. So we come on here and we just speak our freaking mind. And that was part of the reason why we did this, was because we have the ability to come in and speak our mind. There's no golden handcuffs on us. We come in and say what we believe. And we love to hear the people come in and argue with us. You guys, and you guys tell me if you like this or not. Maybe you don't like it. I don't know. Maybe you just want to talk to each other. But one thing you guys will see is that you will always see me in the comment section, whether that's, me defending something that I said. Sometimes what I said made sense. Sometimes it didn't make sense. Sometimes I go back and I look at it and I say, yeah, that wasn't maybe all that clear. Maybe I need to go back and say this a little bit differently. But man, I genuinely love interacting with the people on the channel, whether they agree with us or not. And it's just, and I know that's why you started the Mic Check podcast, right? Just the joy of not only bringing the content, but interacting with the people, man. I love it. I absolutely love it.
I'm with that. That's the same. I echo that also. The interaction with other sports fans, it's the sports part of me. Whenever I did sports radio before, and I love the portion where I interacted with the callers. Because I like to get other people's opinion. And sometimes people will bring a perspective that I'm blind to because I've learned things a certain way and they open me up to different perspectives. And that's what the comment section is all about. That's how you and we got to chopping it up, and whether we agree or disagree, we have some really good conversations about whatever and keep it moving. And I'm on to the next video to see what else you guys have to say. Same thing with Jason when I catch him in some live broadcast sometimes, and he'll chop it up with me. I like that we have differences and similarities, and then we get to hash them out on a forum that other people can join the conversation, like a big sports bar. I love it.
Yo, Brenda just said that fanning, you get blocked if you disagree. Brenda comes on and tell me I don't know what the hell I'm talking about sometimes. And she ain't never been blocked. Tunnel Vision and there's certain people that I always remember. Tunnel Vision came on and he disagreed with something that I had in the chat earlier too. And we just went back and forth. I believe the League of Legacy, we also had a disagreement about a specific topic here recently. And I like the fans because the fans actually have a perspective and information that we don't have. I'm not the all-knowing deity of boxing. I don't know all things boxing. I simply don't. There's just too many things that's going on. I'm not going to come on and pretend that I do. But, that's the whole point of bringing a community together so we can all talk about the sport. And as long as we're respectful when we disagree, that's all that matters. That's all that matters. As long as we're respectful when we disagree. So the other thing that I want to jump into there was two things on there. It was, I'm trying to remember what the other topic was that came out of that, that conversation. They talked about Errol Spence, and it was the sparring, right? Guys, let me pause right here real quickly to say this. Yeah, Jay is another one. Jay is another one of our subscribers that I always see, understand. I've been listening for months. You never blocked anyone that disagrees with you. Yeah, exactly. We don't block anyone that disagrees with us. But that's just not what we do, man. You can come in and tell us we don't know what the fuck we talking about. I'm cool with you telling us we don't know what the fuck we talking about. I'm absolutely cool with you telling me we don't know what the fuck we talking about. As long as you're not coming in here telling us that we assholes and we dick suckers and we all this other stuff, man. I'm not with all that. That's disrespectful. But
sexualizing sports for no reason.
So guys, some of you may realize very quickly that you now have those wrenches next to your name. You guys are people that I've seen on our channel multiple times. Jay, I actually tried to give you a wrench. For some reason I can't find you. Brenda, I tried to give you a wrench as well. I couldn't find you. We're giving you wrenches because you're people that come on our channel, whether you agree with us or not, that we respect, that we trust. And so that's the reason why you have wrenches. So if you see a wrench by your name, that's the reason why you see it. So what else, man? I'm gonna pause here, T, because I know again you have your own podcast, and I'm gonna plug it again. The Mic Check Podcast with T Ward and Quentin. I go on their podcast all the time. These are my brothers. T Ward was probably the first person that subscribed to our channel outside of our family. So he is much appreciated on this channel, man. And he's like family when it relates to the Angry Man podcast and sports media. It's all one and the same. So guys, I'm gonna pass it to you, T. Is there a topic that you want to speak to? And then those who are in the chat, do you guys want to speak to anything specific currently going on in the sport that we have not already covered?
So my podcast, the Mic Check Podcast, is with me and a good friend of mine. Oh man, me and Q been bros for a long time. But we met through journalism, sports journalism, and we just kind of grew our friendship from there. We did a radio show about 5 years ago, and then we moved around and separated and went our own ways. Now we're back at it. We found a great virtual space to do a podcast and talk radio. So we're doing that here on YouTube. It's the Mic Check. We kept it simple. And we do all sports. Right now, we're mostly focused on football, boxing, and basketball. We've got a bi-weekly show that runs about 30 to 45 minutes. And then we do 7 to 10 minute clips in between where we'll talk about a particular topic. Right now, there's videos up about Deshaun Watson's return to the NFL. He had a game earlier today. And then there's also, we talked about Jackson State University. I haven't quite got a video out about Deion Sanders and his move to Colorado. So I think that those are two really big topics right now. So if anybody's interested in chopping it up on sports, we do have a live broadcast coming up on Tuesday at 10:30 a.m. Central Time. Quentin and I are going to be live, or we're going to have comments just like you're a part of right now. So feel free to subscribe and check us out, man. Leave comments. I'm always going to engage, just like my boy Greg. Like, we're going to be a part of the community and build a great sports talk community. They'll be on our show sometime and talk with us because I want to see them succeed, and they have a lane that they're really flourishing in, and we want to flourish in our lane, and I know they want to see us succeed. So we love to have you all support that. But like I said, talking about Prime and what's going on, he was the coach of Jackson State University for roughly 2 years, 3 seasons, and he's moving on to Colorado U to coach the Buffaloes, and he's going to make about $5 million a year. So it's a significant raise in income, but it's also a significant improvement in access to assets and resources. So I think that it's a big deal. So if that's something you guys want to talk about, we can spend a few minutes. If not, I'm cool with sticking with boxing. I'm all in there. There's plenty of fights coming up. Somebody was asking about Frank Martin and Michelle Rivera. So if you'd rather talk about that, I'm okay with that as well.
Yeah. So Frank Martin. So my comment on Frank Martin is this: I haven't had the opportunity to see Rivera fight yet, and so I don't have necessarily a comment in terms of who's going to win that particular fight. I plan to watch Rivera sometimes this week to understand who and what he is and what he brings to the table. I know a little bit about him, but I just haven't had the opportunity to watch him fight to really comment on him and really give you guys a take that's worth giving. I will say Mungao. Yeah, he's a duck. He's a duck. I mean, there's really nothing else for me to say. Brian S., you put it perfectly. He's a duck. There's nothing else that I would care to share in regards to him.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna pass it to you, man. What are your thoughts on? Because I know you've probably checked out Rivera. I just simply haven't had the opportunity to. What are your thoughts on that? And guys, if you haven't had the opportunity yet, please hit the like button. If you haven't had the opportunity yet, please subscribe to the channel, the Angry Man Podcast, AM Sports Media. We bring all types of content, fight breakdowns, videos of your favorite fighters, you know, kind of going through some of their highlight clips. We bring breakdowns and analysis on fights. The works, man. We do it all, man. And so if you haven't had the opportunity, please subscribe to the channel. What are your thoughts, T?
Absolutely. So Michelle Rivera, I've had a few opportunities to see him. The thing that stood out was the Ali stick that he has going on with the trunks and the little flat top and stuff like that. And it's a cool gimmick. Obviously, he's gonna have to put that aside at some point, especially with Nico Ali Walsh out there actually related to Muhammad Ali. But that said, I think he's a really good technical fighter. He's actually got some dog in him, but he has a calmness about him in the ring where it never looks like the moment's too big when I have seen him fight. He's very relaxed. He's not super aggressive. He can somewhat fight off the back foot, but not exactly that type of counter puncher. I think it's a really good style matchup for Frank Martin, who can fight with pressure, but he can also fight as a counter puncher. And I think the height disparity is going to be a good challenge for Frank. And I mean, I'm Team Derrick James, so I've already got a favorite in that fight. So I'm a little biased, but just from a technical standpoint, Michelle Rivera is going to give Frank Martin all he can stand. It's not going to be a short night from what I can see. They're going to be playing chess, and the two coaches are going to play a role in adjusting strategy as the fight goes on. Now, that said, I can see either guy being stopped in the 10th to 12th round.
Nice. Very nice. Guys, I will definitely get the opportunity to see Rivera. Jason and I will come sometime in the next couple of weeks and give a breakdown on the fight based off what we've seen. I told you guys we were working on a breakdown of Ryan Garcia versus Tank Davis. I don't know if we're going to actually put that out because Jason and I actually see it differently, so it's hard for us to go against each other. We got two people on the channel breaking down fights, so we'll see how that ends up working out. What else do we have here? That's what Golden Boy does, build you up for yeah, B-Dog, totally agree with that. They'll build you up with these magnificent records, and then, you know, once you get in the ring with a fighter, you get your ass whooped. What else do we have in the comment section? Thoughts on Eddie Hearns? So Deuce Daily, are you talking about the comments that Eddie Hearns made here recently in regards to Tank Davis and Terrence Crawford? I would imagine, right? I'm assuming that's what you're saying. In regards to Eddie Hearns, so I'm not an Eddie Hearns fan. I don't like Eddie Hearns at all, to be quite honest with you. He does feel like a used car salesman. What he said about Terrence Crawford and what he said in general in the Fight Hype video that we've seen here over the last couple of days, or I think that Fight Hype video actually dropped earlier today. I think it's spot on. I think fighters today want more money than their commercial value demands. And because of that, I think it's hurting the sport. Brenda brought up an interesting point. I believe it was Brenda who brought up an interesting point in regards to promoters promoting. I think promoters don't do the same job that promoters did years ago in terms of promoting fighters. I think that's partially because promoters are trying to figure out ways to shave back dollars in order to pay some of the salaries, the purse requirements from fighters. I think one or two things need to happen for the sport. I think either fighters need to come together with promoters to look at, hey, here are the opportunities that we have in order to broaden the sport, whether that's through cross promotions, whether that's through whatever means that they feel is necessary to promote the sport, and figure out a new model moving forward, because the model that currently exists doesn't work, and it's the fighters' fault and it's the promoters' fault. Yeah. Or fighters need to start promotional companies where they're promoting themselves. And I'm not talking about in name only. I'm talking about actually coming together with all the resources necessary to actually be a promoter, where you're now assuming the risk so that you can earn the biggest dollars. So that's kind of what I feel about what Eddie Hearns is saying. I don't think anything was wrong with what he said. I think it was spot on, other than the comment talking about Canelo. That's the reason why he likes Canelo, because he takes on everybody. That's horseshit. But everything else he said was accurate.
Yeah. I actually like Eddie. I like the low argument. I need somebody that's just gonna talk that talk because I don't like boring sports. I like that there's some villain in sports because otherwise, who do the good guys face, right? So I do like that he'll run his mouth. He's got a little beef with LOD and stuff like that. I'm cool with it because the dude's ain't about to actually fight.
I like that
I'm
too.
cool with all that big talk because it just promotes when they finally figure out a way to work together and both get the bag. They're going to make a lot of money being able to charge each other for fighters who just don't bring a lot of personality to the table, right? So what you're saying to the point that you're making, the promoters are starting to find a way to reset the salary cap that they broke when guys like Eddie Hearn and to some degree Al Heyman got into the business, overpaying fighters to get them on their roster and push HBO and top rank ESPN out of the way. That's kind of what they did. Now they've got to reset that bar lower and get the fighters to understand this is the only way it's going to get there. Let's start by either you take this low guarantee or you get no guarantee, and we give you a little bit more on the back end, and you learn how to sell your damn self. Because, in my opinion, because we are in a social media age, these fighters that are coming up, y'all grew up with social media. You have no reason to be inept at getting on Twitter and talking some trash and hype up your fight and build up your value. Because if you could get more eyes on your tweets and on your social media posts, that's more people that's likely to see your advertisements for your fights. So I think that the bar has to be reset until fighters catch on that you can't just go and train and show up and fight. You're going to have to become your own mouthpiece, and then the promoter eventually will step in and take you to the next level and show you how to polish it. I think promoters should be polished, and the fighters should learn how to promote themselves a little bit.
No, I agree with that. And the fighters got to be on board with the approach of the promoter in terms of the promotion, right? You can't be sitting up here saying that I have this certain type of personality. That's not what I want to do. You want to get paid the biggest bucks. Here's how you can get paid the biggest bucks. You need to be on board with what the promoter is saying. The other thing that I know Eddie Hearn said specifically, and it was in regards to Terrence Crawford, and he said, Terrence Crawford, he talked about the way that you build a fighter, right? And I actually agree with what he said in terms of how you build a fighter. I don't think Terrence Crawford was promoted correctly. I don't think Bob Arum did Terrence Crawford a service in the way that he promoted him. And the reason why I say that is if you look at Terrence Crawford's style, Terrence Crawford has a very exciting style, right? He's a counterpuncher. He doesn't mind getting in there and mixing it up a bit. He's fast. He's athletic. He has an exciting style. So that's a lot to work with. Now, I also blame Terrence Crawford because I think Terrence Crawford personality also hurts him in the sense that he doesn't like to necessarily do the things that would allow him to become the biggest in the sport. What Eddie Hearn said was that if Terrence Crawford went to the mall and walked down, the halls of the mall and went to the different stores, no one in there would know him other than hardcore boxing fans. I tend to agree with that. That's part of the issue that I've had with Terrence Crawford when he re-signed with Top Rank. I thought it was the wrong move. I didn't think Bob Arum did him a service. I don't think he knows how to promote him. I thought the PBC would do a much better job in promoting Terrence Crawford. So I think what Eddie Hearn said in regards to Terrence Crawford was actually factual. Now he's saying that, he's 35 years old. Is it too late? No, there's something to work with there, right? Because he's the number one pound for pound fighter, according to ESPN. I know a lot of our people don't believe he's the number one pound for pound fighter, but according to ESPN, he is. So there is something to work with there. T, I want to understand your thoughts on what Eddie Hearn said there in regards to Terrence Crawford.
So I'm in agreement on Terrence Crawford not being properly promoted, whether it was intentional or Bob trying to maintain his value at a certain level so he can keep him in house and keep control of the WBO title. That said, when you think about, I like the point that you just made. Terrence Crawford has one of the most exciting styles in boxing. He's what Tank gives at 135, 130 at 147. It's guaranteed fireworks, right? He's gonna get in there and mix it up. He's gonna KO a guy. He's gonna put him down. By comparison, Errol Spence hadn't been man down in several years, but yet he still had the highest popularity. the bigger pay-per-view draw, and he's not even knocking dudes out cold. Terrence Crawford is actually knocking dudes out. And like you said, you poll 100 random people, and about 50% is going to know who Errol Spence is, and about 20% is going to know who Terrence Crawford is. Part of that is promoting himself. Part of that is Bob Arum not putting in the work to actually get Terrence Crawford to the level. It should be highlight reels and knockout reels of Terrence Crawford on top ranked platforms every time you look. Every time there was something they post Instagram, he should have been on there, on Twitter, whatever, YouTube. That should have been something promoted, because that's going to sell Terrence Crawford to the casual fan who just happens to come across a video.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. I want to pause here very quickly to give Rock Dog Interactive some love. They are a sponsor of the Angry Man podcast. I know you guys have probably seen here that we have a couple of different graphics below here, Rock Dog and Orange Theory Fitness. So Orange Theory Fitness, we currently are not getting money from. We would like to get money from them. So that's the reason that we got them posted right now, to show them what we could do for them. The reason why you're now seeing some of these things up here is because we're trying to figure out ways to fund this in a way that you guys don't have to do super chats and all that stuff. We appreciate the super chats. We're not saying not to do it, but we want to make sure that we can bring you the best boxing content we possibly can for the lowest amount of money. And the way that we can do that is to plug different organizations and companies as we do these podcasts. So forgive us if I have to stop and shamelessly do a plug, but it's a part of trying to bring you content for the lowest possible cost. All right, guys. What else do we have here?
Hey, by the way, while you're I'm gonna give you your flowers. Hey man, I'm loving the new presentation. I love watching channels and projects grow, and I'm sure the viewers out there would say the same thing, man. Like from the early episodes when I caught on, I liked that regular raw feel, but I also like where I can see the progression through the different things that you're doing. So I want to give you all your flowers, man. You and Jason are doing a great thing over here, and having me on is always a pleasure too. So I did want to go ahead and bless y'all with that compliment. And just keep going. I can't wait to see, Rock Dog and Orange Theory really pump it into, because I know that that's going to translate into so much more, And just like with my channel, it's the same thing. Looking to find ways to fund it without it being fan funded, so that we could take those resources and put it into getting better interviews, better graphics, make sure we have the statistical support, because every good sports show needs a great statistician. So, things like that are what goes on behind the scenes. Maybe too much to share with the viewers, but definitely want to give you guys a shout out on that. I love the presentation. It looks super dope.
Man, thank you so much, man, for saying that. I don't think people really understand the work that goes into it. I do all the thumbnails, I do all the graphics. I had to learn how to do this stuff. There's a lot of great YouTube videos out there that help you learn how to do it, but man, we just try to make the channel as good as possible. I know we've had some challenges here over the last couple of weeks because we've been making changes. Jason has upgraded his mic and his equipment over there. I've upgraded some things over here. I'm building new computers and stuff like that. We just want to bring you guys the best content possible, man. So like Jay said, please hit the like button. Please subscribe. Love for you guys to join our community because it's truly a community. So what else do we have, guys? Is there anything else? And one other thing I want to say, I wish I could have made it there. So, and my boy Jason is in the comment section. This is my guy. Appreciate Jason coming into the comment section. I know you'll be on the show next week. What else? What else do we want to talk about, man? Is there anything else we want to discuss today? Oh, that's what I want to say. I want to apologize that we started a little bit late. I was actually, I was guys, full disclosure, I was on a golf course and it lasted a little bit longer than what I thought it was going to last. So I was actually communicating with T, telling him that we had to push it back. But yeah, next time we're going to make sure we start on time, 4 p.m. next week. Brian S, man, appreciate it, man. Some support while we wait for Orange Theory to see the vision. Brian S, I appreciate it. If you guys know anybody out there that is looking to get that promotion, let us know. We are happy to be in business with anybody who is on the up and up and wanting to be in business with us. Anything else we need to cover?
I feel like we got them all, man. You know, it was a little bit of a slow week in boxing. I caught the replay of Chocolatito. It was a heck of a fight. He came on late. Other than that, it was just a slow weekend of boxing. It was championship weekend for football, so I know it was intentional. We're kind of in a kind of dual dry spell. Besides next week, that December 10th card, but I feel like we hit all the hot topics, bro. Again, I appreciate the opportunity to come on and chop it up, which is always a pleasure. Thank you to everybody that's in the chat that are also subscribing to my channel and supporting my venture off into doing my thing as well. But keep in mind, y'all, I'm with the AM family. You know what I'm saying? Like as a correspondent, I'm happy to tap in and support my bros and give my voice to their platform as well. So you know, it's not a competition. We all want to see each other win. So I'm all about that.
Yeah, same here, man. As far as I'm concerned, T, you are part of the family. Like I mentioned before, you were one of the first people to subscribe to our channel, man. See the vision, come in there and tell us that you really support what it is we're doing. So I look at the Mic Check podcast as like almost like a sister channel, right? Essentially, we are all together, man. And you guys see that we bring other people on. Who we had on? We've had Marlo from the Real Marlo TV. We've had James from the Boxing Source. Who else we had on? We had Showboating came on as well, man. So we just love connecting with the people, man. Period. So I think we're gonna go ahead, man, and get to an end point here, man. I need to go up here and spend a little time with the fam. Again, appreciate you guys. Next week we're gonna jump right back into it. 4 p.m. Guys, be on the look. If any of you guys are interested in being moderators, please reach out to us. There's certain people who I've had so much interaction with. I already knew I was going to give them the opportunity to be moderators in our channel. If there's anybody else, Brian S., for whatever reason, I can't figure out how to add you. Jay, I can't figure out how to add you. Brenda, I can't figure out how to add you. I don't know if you guys have specific settings. But if so, let me know if you're interested in being a moderator and a part of the channel. Anything else I need to address on this one? Again, thank you guys. Hit the like button. If you haven't had the opportunity yet, please subscribe. We're going to keep bringing you guys that hot boxing content as much as possible. We're going to always keep it real with you. And until next time, guys, peace. We'll see you guys later.